Alright, hey, thanks to all of you guys that have subscribed and liked our videos. Hopefully we're putting out some stuff that's interesting, somewhat educational maybe, and fun to watch. My name is Jim Cheney. Some of you know me, some of you don't. We're going to get to know me now and get to know my family and my history. We go back a long ways in this community as farmers and ranchers. It starts back with, I'm the 6th generation farmer in my family. This farm's been in our family since about 1865. My great-great-great-grandfather, Elam Cheney, he came across the plains with the pioneers in the 1840s, and he settled up in Centerville, Utah, where he started his first farm. And church leaders asked him to move down into Mona. He moved down to Mona and he started what's called Cheney Ranches. And then after a time in about 1864, Brigham Young asked him to move over here to Fairview and start a grist mill for the area and for the people of the Sanpete Valley. And so that's where we got our start here in Sanpete. We have this piece of property that's down here, and this spring, there's about 4 springs that run together here, and in this is the spring in the ground that he originally settled, and where he decided he was going to make his grist mill and start our family farm here in Fairview. This is where it all began, right here. His house and his corrals were over here in this area, and that's where it began. He had quite a few kids, and one of his sons, Ezekiel, kind of took over the farm and the ranch after Elam had passed on, and this was his original house right here. It's still in the family, the Cheney family. A cousin of mine owns it, and anyways, he began to expand the farm, and then his son Aaron, who is my great-grandfather, he kind of took over the farm after that. He has his house right here. This is actually across the street from his dad's house, and this was his homestead area. And he expanded the farm, expanded the ranch, had some cows, had some sheep, had different animals. And then as my grandfather, he grew up Reed, he took over the farm. They had a bunch of dairy cows at the time. They were running a dairy. My grandfather was a sheep herder in the area. My father, Jim, as he grew up, he grew up milking the cows, taking care of the dairy. And when he moved away for a couple of years in the 70s, that's when my grandfather decided to sell the dairy cows, and he actually went into the beef cow business. My father moved back, and he kind of helped take over and start running the beef cows. The interesting thing about the farm was, through those first 4 generations, it was kind of self-sustaining. It was able to sustain the family, and everybody's able to, kind of make a living off of it. As my father and my grandfather farmed together, it wasn't big enough to sustain, 2 families, and so my father had a job besides helping on the farm. And the whole time I remember growing up, my father was a police officer here in town and ran the farm. He always called it an expensive hobby, but it was something that he loved and he wanted to do for a living, and just was able to do that. And so as I've grown up, that's what I've wanted to do. I wanted to farm for a living and keep the farm going, and it's been hard to do that. Land's expensive, and it's just hard to make a farm sustainable in this area, to sustain a family. So that's been one of my goals. It was my father's goal, and anyways, he passed away back in 2020, and me and him have been looking into different ways of making this farm better and more sustainable to sustain our families on it. We're selling hay and different things. We started selling some meat, little things that we hadn't done in the past. But the one thing that was the biggest problem we had was being able to have enough animals on the farm to be able to help sustain that. And so we looked into different things. We looked into some stuff. We looked into this stuff called fodder and how to grow it. We looked at a lot of different systems, and a lot of those systems were great. They grew a lot of feed, a lot of nutritious feed, but the problem was, in order to grow enough feed to feed a herd of cows, you had to hire 2 or 3 people to be able to plant the seed, harvest the seeds, harvest the plant when it was done, clean the trays. It was a very time-consuming deal, and so we never really got into it because of that fact. So I ran across these systems. There's a local guy here in the area in the valley that ended up buying a system from Hydro-Green, so I went out and looked at his system. I was pretty impressed. It was amazing to see how automation worked and how it could, how it took the labor out of not only farming, but the labor out of fodder farming from what I'd ever seen. So I was pretty intrigued and pretty interested, so I watched him, and I visited him a couple times throughout his first and second year, and by the time he was in his second year, I had asked him a question of if he had any regrets, and the only regret he said he had was not doing it sooner. He loved the system, he loved the company that he was working with, he loved the product that it was creating for his animals. He was able to grow his farm and stay in the farming business and not have to quit. So as soon as I saw that, I was sold on that. So then I jumped in head first and was like, hey, I'm doing this, and got in touch with a salesman from Hydro-Green, and that's how we ended up with our systems. We've been going for about a month now. The biggest thing that I wanted out of this whole deal was to be able to have more cows on the same amount of ground that I have and be able to feed them cheaper than having to go and buy hay for them, because hay is really expensive. And so they told me, the studies show that each one of these machines should be able to feed up to 130 cows each every day. And so I bought 2 machines. I built this building big enough for 3. But I started off with 2 machines. I only have about 140 of my own cows right now, and I wanted to test it out and make sure it was going to feed that many cows. So I've contacted a few people I know, and they brought a bunch of cows in. And right now we're feeding 285 cows every day. We're feeding 250 of them with fodder, and then we're feeding the rest of them with some hay. And so I'm pretty impressed with the system. I've proved in the first month of having it that I could feed the amount of cows that I wanted to feed, and that was my goal, was at least 250. But now I have room for another machine, and I would expect within the next year or even sooner I'll probably have that 3rd machine, because I'll be able to feed that many more cows on the same amount of ground that I have. So anyways, we started this channel. We wanted to introduce people to fodder. The water conservation park, especially here in Utah, is a big deal. You can say that saves a ton of water by growing your feed this way versus irrigating out in the fields. So we wanted to be able to show people what we were doing, maybe hopefully educate some people, get some people interested in it. Not only is it going to help sustain farming in Utah, but it's going to help sustain farmers across the country and across the world. As the population grows and ground becomes harder to get or harder to keep, we'll still be able to, raise animals and produce food for people in smaller areas, but still have the same amount of production. So anyhow, hopefully the stuff we share is informational, maybe educational. Pique your interest in looking into some of the stuff that we do, and also hopefully some of the stuff we do is pretty entertaining. And we're not the smartest guys; we're just lazy, fat dudes that don't like to work very hard. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Please like our Facebook page, like our Instagram page. We do have a website coming out, Cheney Farms LLC. It's www.cheneyfarmsllc.com. On that website, once it's up and rolling, you'll be able to purchase meat. We'll be able to ship meat across the country. We'll have other things to purchase on there, but mostly it's going to be homegrown beef from our farm, and we'll ship it directly to you. Anyways, look out for that. Watch out for that. If you have any suggestions for us, hit us up in the comments. We'll check it out. Anyways, thanks for watching.